Hi, everybody. It's Salon Today Conversations. I'm Stacey Soble, and today we have an exciting conversation planned ahead. And we have Samantha Sharpless, who is also on the cover of this month's issue. So we're so excited to see you live and in person.
Yes.
And this is just coming out to everybody in the mailboxes. So Samantha, you have VIVO Beauty Bar in Ohio, and Allison Gillespie. Did I do that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect.
Right. You are one of her Beautytenders, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is, Samantha, in a little bit, but you've been with VIVO for 3 years. And then
Yes.
I have Marci Zerbe from Tippy. So we're going to talk about VIVO getting into using Tippy and how that's changed habits for the salon and stylist. So it's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Samantha, let's start off. We did cover this in the article a little bit, but you have an interesting story of the evolution of your salon. Take us on that journey a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
You're welcome.
When you guys asked to have me again, I'm like, oh my gosh, are you sure you don't want to choose somebody else? So thank you so much. So yeah, VIVO, we opened in 2018. And prior to opening a salon, oh my goodness, I started beauty school in 2006. So quite some time in the industry. I'd always worked in commission-based salons. So I knew that's what I wanted. I loved the team aspect of it. I loved the culture of commission salons, but I knew I wanted something different than what most salons were. So prior to opening VIVO, we traveled to Italy. My partner and I, my boyfriend, were partners in the salon. So we traveled to Italy for quite some time, and I loved the culture. I loved the relaxed atmosphere of coffee bars and wine bars. And it just really drew me to kind of transition that into our business. So that's really what inspired VIVO.
So what a coffee bar, wine bar could look like in a salon version.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then you call your stylist and your team members Beautytenders.
Yes, we do. So we say they serve up beauty every day, every aspect of beauty. We're a full service salon, so hair, skin, nails, lashes, a little bit of everything. We also have a full boutique space in the front. So anything beauty, you name it. Allison is one of our Beautytenders, and they just serve it up every day.
I love that. So what made you want to explore other options in handling tips? And how did you learn about Tippy?
Yes, so I actually learned about Tippy from a salon owner in Pennsylvania. So originally I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've lived in Ohio now for about 8 years. So about 4 years before VIVO opened, I moved to Ohio, and a fellow salon owner, just saw on Instagram, she was using this really cool tipping, platform, and it was called Tippy. And we were roughly 1 year into owning our business. I think it was December maybe of 2019, and ran the reports for our taxes. And I realized just how much money we had taken in tips, and essentially how many fees we had accrued, and just how expensive it was for a salon and a salon owner, a new salon owner at that. We did way better year one than I ever anticipated. And I wasn't prepared to pay all of that for tips. And I just had reached out to her. She said that they had been using it for 6 months. They were never a credit card tipping salon. So she had never, accepted credit card tips. So she had used Tippy because they wanted to start accepting credit card tips. I wanted to use Tippy so I did not have to pay the fees. And it transitioned really easy into our business.
And when you're talking fees, you're talking about what you pay the credit card companies and processing fees, which does, it seems like such a tiny amount when you just look at it on paper, but it adds up really fast.
It does. It really adds up fast when, I think we had 15 stylists year one at the end of that year. So it really does add up.
So before you brought Tippy in, how are you processing tips?
So we were processing them through our credit card processor. We've always used Rosie Salon software. So we had their original card integration system, and we processed them at checkout just through our regular credit card processor.
And then how did you pay out the stylists? Did you do that through their checks or at the end of the day, or?
Yes, they got paid in their paychecks. So, of course they had to wait a week. I do pay weekly, so it's not quite as long as bi-weekly, but still every week they were waiting every Tuesday to get those tips throughout the week. Yes.
So how long did it take you to implement Tippy once you decided to bring it on board?
Pretty quickly. I think we brought it on board January of 2019. So we've been using Tippy for quite some time. And the conversation around Tippy was pretty smooth. The stylists at first didn't really understand. And, it took probably a week for them to fully grasp the concept. And we call our front desk team our hostess staff. So our hostess staff, they just took them a week or so to understand, but they've loved it ever since. It was an immediate love for Tippy.
Oh, that's great. Marci, Tippy recently formed a partnership with Branch. Can you talk about that and how that's changed it a little bit and even made it better?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially now in this day and age, everybody wants their money faster. So prior to partnering with Branch, we always only had the option of ACH transfers for our users to be able to get their funds. And so we wanted to find a way to make it possible so that they could get that money faster. Prior to credit cards, everybody was used to cash. So you get that immediately, you take it home, you can spend it right after your shift's over. And that piece was missing once credit card tipping came into play. So partnering with Branch allowed us to give those service providers instant access to those hard-earned tips so that, again, it's the next best thing to cash. So, they're getting those tips during the day. They have instant access to them where they can still go and spend them that same day right after they've been received. So it's been a really great benefit for our users.
That's great.
Yeah. And Samantha, how has Tippy affected operations, and changed things for you since you brought it in?
It absolutely, right off the bat, we noticed all of our beauty tenders had a much higher tip percentage per service. So instantly they all were receiving a much, way more tips than they had previously. And then overall, it has significantly lowered like I mentioned, our credit card processing fees. I had never given, cash tips at the end of the night. They always got them in their paycheck, but that has helped me so much in payroll, not calculating all of their tips. So now it seems like we've been doing it for so long, it just seems like second nature, but I cannot imagine going back and not using Tippy.
So
That's great.
When you made this decision as a business, how did you communicate it to the stylists?
So it worked out well because it was a new year. So we were having our first meeting of the year really to, lay out the year, map out our goals, things like that. So we kind of tied those two things into each other. And I really portrayed the benefit of they can have this money. Back then I said instantly. Now we know with Branch, they truly can get it instantly, but even within one day, that just seemed instant to them in comparison to waiting in their paychecks. And, they have the full tip today, right? They will have to then pay taxes later on, but they have access to all of those funds immediately within one day. So that is biggest selling point that I had told to them, right? They can have money today. They don't have to wait for it. And everyone just seemed very much on board for it.
Great.
Allison, I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts were when Samantha first told you that she was bringing Tippy in. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, it was really exciting to hear that we would be able to get the tips within the next business day. Obviously, like you said, everybody wants their money right off the bat. So it was really cool to be able to see the spreadsheet of everything and really receive and see it all come through within that 24 hours. So it really sparked an interest in me for sure. I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
What about has it changed your spending habits at all since you've been able to see it all in one place like that?
Yeah, it's really cool to see all of the credit card tips be laid out in a way that you're able to see what you made in that week or that day or whatever the case may be. So you're really able to separate the tips from your paycheck and then, save from that way. Because I know with me going on maternity leave, it's been a really great way to separate tips from my paycheck and just kind of put those in a bank and be able to save it for when I'm not going to be working and when I'm having a little baby.
Which is very soon, right?
Yes, very, very soon. I'm doing a couple days.
we were just hoping we could get through the interview before.
I know.
I know.
I know. I had my fingers crossed for sure.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
What about, how did you communicate to clients why the business went this direction with Tippy, Samantha?
So when I was communicating with clients, essentially I laid it out to where, okay, when you tip your stylist, they have to wait a week to get these tips. And when you do tip them, it goes directly to them. It does not have to come through the salon first. And we kind of compared it to a Venmo, right? I said, it's like you Venmoing your stylist with your credit card. You don't need any account. You can just tap your card here and they will instantly get those tips tomorrow. So our clients really enjoy it as well. And I do think like they are excited when they go to check out. We have the iPad right at the front desk and they know exactly what to do. They click their stylist's name before we can even do it. They're like, oh, I know Allison did my hair today. This is how much I'm going to tip her. And they get excited for it. So I think that they now are able to customize those tips a little bit more to their stylist, knowing that they get them directly.
So overall, it sounds like your clients had a really great response to it when you first introduced it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the feature of the like beautiful iPad with, 15, 16 faces on it, that it just really intrigued them at first. Like, what is this? What can I do here? So they loved it from day one.
That's
And
awesome.
then, Allison, when a client tips, do you see what that client individually tipped you? I mean, I guess when it came through the check, it was like the accumulation of the week. You didn't know who was giving you what.
Right. Yeah. It immediately comes through on my phone. I get a notification as soon as the tip goes through, and I'm able to see the percentage that they were tipping me and the amount, obviously. And then so that's been really cool to see. And for the clients to be able to choose the percentage, I do think that it's resulted in us being able to get a higher tip amount. So it is really cool to see what everybody's able to tip right away.
That's great. And Marci, talk a little bit about that, because Samantha mentioned that tips are higher, and we've heard that from other salons. And Allison talked about, having the percentage laid out. But why do you think that happens?
So I think Allison really hit the nail on the head with that, because there's a couple of reasons we believe they increase, but a huge part of it is that personalization aspect that we brought back into it. So the customer knows that their service providers like Allison are going to see that tip, that it came from them. So they want to make sure that they know that Allison knows, I appreciated my service. I think you did a great job. I want to show you that by giving you a little bit more in my tip this week. And another part of it is those suggested tip amounts. We were really surprised at the amount of customers who just weren't really sure what a good amount was. And then there's that awkward conversation at the desk of asking your front desk people, what is an appropriate tip? And then that puts them in a weird spot. So having those suggested tip amounts also helps the customer to give them a good baseline for what would be a great tip if you enjoyed your service today. So because of those various reasons, we think that all combined helps to increase the tip percentages for our service providers using Tippy.
And of course, you have some people like me who are math challenged. So I might know what the percentage is, but in that moment, you're like trying to figure it out. And,
Yes.
maybe wrong product, it just gets really confusing. So
yeah, exactly.
Yes, we found prior to they were just saying, okay, add $10, add $15.
Yeah.
Because the
it's easy. It's easy to just say that. Yeah.
Exactly. So now they can choose a percentage, which ends up being much higher than that flat rate they were going to give.
That's great. So is there anything else that you might want to say about Tippy that we haven't discussed? Marci, do you have a question for either one of them that we haven't asked?
No, I think we covered everything. I think it was really great talking to you guys. To hear things from the point of view of both the owner and the service provider is always really great feedback for us. And it's just great hearing success stories with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly think it's a no-brainer for any salon owner. I think if you're running credit card tips through your business at the moment, you could just be saving so much money and time, and your stylist could be absolutely making way more money than what they are. So I'm a big advocate. I share Tippy all the time. So I definitely think that if you're listening, jump on board with Tippy.
That's great. Well, thank you all for being on this call. Allison, we wish you a safe delivery and a happy baby.
Oh,
And,
thank you so much.
and then I just, Samantha, I hope that your salon has a great holiday season and a good 2023. We're almost here. So
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. We're almost here. Thank you so much.
thank you so much.
Thanks.